All human beings cannot spend any day without making some decision. From the moment we get up, we have major decisions and many insignificant decisions. And yet decisions that have to be made as well as part of our day. Some of them require quite a bit of thinking, quite a bit of praying, quite a bit of devotion to the cause which the making of the decision shall represent. I bring to you an individual who made a great impact in the history of North America, when back in the 1930s, the era of the Great Depression, he found himself relatively comfortably as the CEO of the Jubal Tea Company in Chicago. He was making a good salary compared to the difficulties that the majority of the population was facing during that period. And when he least expected, he received in his office a group of people, maybe 2 or 3, representing the Chicago Club aluminum products, pleading with him because of his good reputation to become the CEO of that company which was about to fail. They had more than 250 jobs at stake. And if someone with good ideas would not come and restore them to greatness, that company would completely fail. And all of those families would be greatly adversely affected. It was a difficult decision, extremely difficult, because at that time his salary was quite high for those days. And yet they were offering him as his annual pension only $6,000 US. He could still live on that, but it was of course much less than what he was receiving. But he, with paper and pencil and an active mind, he decided to consider that possibility. And in the process of considering that, he came up with 4 points, 4 rules that he would implement through that company, knowing that if those were followed, the company would not only survive but also thrive. So he prepared those and conveyed the idea to his new employees when he came to them. And he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are in a very difficult situation, but I'm convinced that we can overcome the problems, and all of your jobs can be salvaged, and new ones can be added." So with the reputation that he had as a sound businessman, he was able to borrow enough money from a bank so as to revive that company, produce new products, and cause its work to continue. There was a set date for the repayment, and yet in much less than the time that it was due, he was able to repay the company, and all of those jobs were saved. And that particular company, up to this very day, as far as I know, continues to thrive and to do its work. Now, what were the principles that J. Herbert Taylor chose? That was his name. He simply jotted down on paper these 4 rules, which were actually 4 questions. In the first place, is it the truth? Secondly, is it fair to all concerned? Thirdly, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And finally, will it will it benefit all concerned? And he presented that to his people and said, there will be a temptation for you to fail in applying these rules in every single transaction. But to the extent that we all remain unanimous in doing it, in every business transaction, we shall succeed. And the long story is that they succeeded. They succeeded. Now, J. Herbert Taylor had been a member of a Rotary Club, and eventually he became its international president in the year when that organization was celebrating its 50th anniversary, which was 1955. Eventually he gave the copyright of these principles to Rotary International, and in many, if not most of its clubs, weekly, all around the world, in a great variety of languages, these principles are repeated aloud at the beginning or at the end of their luncheons or breakfasts or dinners, depending on the time when any particular club meets. It does not need to be limited only to Rotarians. And I hope that all of you, my viewers, will consider applying to your own lives these principles as well, in everything that you do, in all the transactions that you make. This is my message to you, and I wish you the very best. Bye-bye.